Okay, so what are we talking about today?
Well, I'm telling you what I'm going to talk about today. This past weekend, we got a dishwasher. So I know that's not as exciting as a sailboat, but I thought of you. Let me tell you how I thought of you in the dishwasher.
Me with the dishwasher.
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, what happened was we have been out without a dishwasher for just a couple of months because it's the heating element, blah, blah. I looked it up on YouTube and kind of did my own diagnosis based on what I found on YouTube. So the short story is the dishwasher is 9 years old, and I know that there's things that you can replace and move on with it. I get that. But I had to come to the realization that, and I said this to Conrad, we are not Tiffany and Brandon people. So we went to Home Depot, we looked at the sales, and we did some reviews, and we're like, yep, I'm choosing that one because we had said money for it. So done. But I had to laugh because I was like, we are not those people that you guys are better than us, and that's all I wanted to say.
I'm laughing because you said, we're just going to go buy a new appliance. We are not Tiffany and Brandon. I'm not really sure how I feel about that.
This is April.
And this is Tiffany.
And you're listening to the Tea of Life podcast, where we enjoy telling each adventure of life.
We hope that you enjoy listening today as we dive into this week's episode.
I've been doing some research on organizing my time, my energy. I've been listening to a few podcasts on that same bend, reading some books on that same bend, and I'm just excited to present that. Not today, of course. I am not that ready today to talk about it, but just so you know, if you're out there and you're struggling with your time and you're struggling with what to do with, maybe it's free time, maybe it's not enough time, I've got some resources that I can't wait to share with you. I don't have the answers, but I can point you to a resource. That's all I wanted to say. Is that okay to do a little teaser?
Of course.
Okay. Hey, what was your boat name?
Yeah, so we named our boat Square Knot.
Really? That's a great name.
And square being like the four of us. Mm-hmm. And knot also having like a double meaning, like a nautical mile.
Oh, okay? Right.
But also square knot, the square knot is actually one of the first knots that the Boy Scouts learn how to tie.
Okay.
And this is our first boat. So it was just really cool, like the square knot. It was also kind of neat because we had actually purchased this boat from the local Sea Scouts. It was kind of neat to have that Boy Scout name kind of intertwined into the boat. So, yeah.
Part of its story.
Yes, exactly. So we thought that was a great name for it. Yeah, so Square Knot. So I do have a question from a listener. Our listener writes in, and she had a question about writing. In one of our segments, I think we had talked about how we love to journal, we love to write. Actually, I take that back. I hate to journal, but I do love to write. Two totally different things.
I love to journal and I love to write.
I think it's totally different, okay? Journal, I feel like, is more of a have to, you know? Okay. You have to keep up with it. You have to do it. You have to put your thoughts on paper. Writing, I feel like, is more free. Like, I can just write anything down that I want to. But journaling, to me, is real, evident facts. Mm-hmm. Writing, to me, is just dreaming. So that's why it's different. Okay. It may be different for other people. But our listener says that she checked out our blog and that we have inspired her.
Wow.
Now she wants to see if she can follow through. She actually had been diagnosed with breast cancer last year. And so she was told to journal her journey with breast cancer. She tried, but then she realized that her OCD was kind of kicking in high gear. And she kept worrying that she was getting events out of order. She wanted a clean story from the beginning and that story to be in order on her journal. So it caused her to stop writing. And I completely understand what she's talking about because I've been there in that situation too, where I don't have the facts for journaling. So I tend to not journal. So she's saying now it's going to be harder for her to remember all the facts and all the order, but she's feeling very inspired after listening to us talk about writing and also reading the blog that she wants to start journaling and she wants to start trying to put some of her memories and thoughts together through the process of fighting breast cancer. So she pulled out a journal and she's actually going to start writing in it.
Good.
And she's excited about that. Great, fabulous news is that she actually has fought breast cancer. She's actually survived. Awesome. Like she's completely free and clear now of the cancer. So she's on the other side of the journey.
Ooh.
And so she is actually able to look back and see. So she's no longer fighting it. She's actually still in recovery from that, but she's clear. She wants to know if we have any tips on getting her over the perfectionist hurdle in writing.
Hey, that's really great. I need those same tips. Do you have any thoughts off your top of your head?
Well, the first thing that I that I told her was to just write.
Just do it.
Just write. Don't worry about punctuation. Don't worry about spelling. Don't worry about order of events in the beginning. And you can just treat the journal as if it's like a scratch notepad. Just write down whatever comes to mind. I told her that she can pretend like the journal is just a source of notes and highlights for more writing in the future and down the road. So not a lot of details may be needed at first. That she can maybe start off the journal with a table of contents, so to speak.
That's good.
Right? And that could just be a scratch piece of paper, and maybe use the first set of pages for just quickly jotting down her first thoughts, just events. Whatever the first thought and event comes to mind, just jot that down. Then go back and start filling in the details later.
That's a good idea. I was listening to another site. There was actually a video on the site about writing, and they're talking about just that first 5 minutes, just get out and just start writing. Like whatever comes to your mind, like you were saying, don't worry about the details. Don't worry about punctuation. Just write. And then later going in and filling the details. But I think that's what the biggest fear is. You think, oh my gosh, I have to sit here and write this essay, this dissertation, this beautiful masterpiece, and I can't do it, so I'm going to stop. But it's like, no, it's choppy. Maybe it's just a bunch of words or doodles. And lately, for me, it's just been coloring. I actually just color and draw at first and get things out. I'm not usually a drawer. I'm not usually a colorer. I'm not usually a colorful thinker. I'm just a black and white, logical kind of person. But I feel maybe just being inspired by drawing, that helps my creative side of my brain take over. So maybe that's something. Just draw something in color.
Yeah.
Or just, draw a picture that she sees.
And that's so popular right now, just drawing in the journaling the pictures instead of actually the words, just drawing the pictures along with the words and stuff.
Wish I would have brought my journal. I have been writing in, like when I feel weary about something or I feel overwhelmed about something, and I just bring it to the Lord. And that's when he just downloads. He just tells me, kind of maps it out. It's like the process is right there. I begin to, when I'm there, when I'm present, when I write what's troubling me on the page, then it's like it opens up. Oh, I can tackle it. When you think about something, write that word down. If you get a picture, write that word down. If something makes you happy, write it down. If something makes you angry, write it down.
Yeah.
Just get in the habit of first thing you do in the morning. First thing you do in the morning could be have a cup of coffee with Jesus. Keep that. Then go to your planner, your journal.
Well, then I think, too, that you can just go back and fill in the blanks with that. You don't have to expect to sit down and talk about that particular feeling at that point. But if you write it down, or maybe even a few keywords, when you go back to see it, it's going to trigger that emotion again. So you can actually write about it at that time. I actually had told her that a lot of times I have so many things going on in my head that I might be writing a paragraph, and then something will come into my head that has nothing to do with that paragraph. So I will literally stop writing that paragraph, and I will just go down the page. I'll put one line or just a few words for the next paragraph, and then I'll go back and finish that paragraph. So then I know. So I've got that out of my head. I'm not having to remember. It's, if I can get it out and on paper, then there's less that I have to remember and think about and forget.
Right. I'm using my journal to, when I have a revelation about something or something that's helped me or something I'm trying to process, I'm using it in the journal. My journal is not a dear journal. Today was so wonderful. It could be, but it's mostly like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about this. This is how I'm challenged today. This is what I'm pondering over. So I'm really trying to make it a working journal where at the end of the month, like the planner, like the passion planner, at the end of the month, you try to reflect. Hey, what went well this month? Or what do I need to work on next month? Or who am I really thankful for this month? So it helps you to kind of process what your life looks like from the month behind and how to move yourself forward. Let's talk about the real reason we gathered today.
Okay. Last summer, a friend of mine introduced me to a show on television, and it actually
last summer.
It
had to be more summers ago because there's a lot of those shows. Okay,
no, it was last summer.
How did you watch all those shows?
No, I watched that entire show,
That's a good show.
7 seasons of the show.
Let's tell us. That's
all like in one summer.
7.
It was
give them some clues. Let's see if people can guess the.
I'm actually going through it again, and I'm almost through the first season.
I need to finish
and I've only been watching it for about a week. So I'm actually going through it faster this time than I was last time.
Third, I'll watch the 4th.
And it's actually better the second time around. I highly recommend. I am not a person who likes to watch movies twice. When I see a movie, I'm done. Like there are exceptions to the rule. Like Princess Bride, I can watch it over and over again. Waiting for Guffman, I could watch it over and over again. Those kind of things. But typically, I am not one to watch a movie more than once. Okay. So with that being said, the fact that I'm actually watching this again and enjoying it more the second time than I actually did the first time, this says a lot about the show. Okay.
Have you told them what it is yet?
No.
Are you going to make them guess? Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, but it's an old show.
Wait for
I
it.
don't even know when it came out. Years ago.
You could Google it. I don't know.
But anyway, it's an old show. It's about a mother and a daughter.
Okay.
Yeah.
You going to say single mother, that part? Or are you going to go
Single
above?
mother
Okay, yes.
and a daughter who she actually had her daughter when she was 16, never got married, and ended up moving away from her parents to raise her daughter.
And in fact, this mother often plays the same role in other shows.
Oh, yeah.
That's her signature thing.
Right.
Go ahead.
Right. So anyway,
She's
okay,
great.
so
I love
enough
this.
of the suspicion. The name of the show is Gilmore Girls.
Gilmore Girls.
And what we wanted to talk about today is narcissism. Probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, if you would have said the word narcissism to me, I don't think I would have known what you were talking about. Since then, I've actually learned what narcissism means, and I've realized that our society is completely plagued with narcissism. People who have narcissistic personality disorders. And it's not something that is actually diagnosed that I've learned. It can be diagnosed, but less than 1% of the people who actually have narcissism are actually diagnosed with narcissism. And the reason is because narcissistic people don't believe that there's anything wrong with them.
Right.
And so in order to get them diagnosed with this, they actually have to be convinced that something might be wrong. So then they would go to the doctor and go through psychological evaluation, which most of the time never happens because the narcissistic person believes that the problem is with everyone else and not themselves. So that's why less than 1% is actually diagnosed. However, there's way more than 1% of our population.
Right.
I mean, you can look at anywhere in our government. You can, different stages of our government. Television personalities, a lot of times they suffer from narcissistic personality disorder. But do you know what some of the characteristics are for narcissism?
You may have shared some with me, but go ahead. Share some more.
All right. So,
Are you trying to tell me something?
no. And what's funny is the fact that you just asked that question shows that you probably do not have narcissistic personality disorder. Because typically, whenever someone hears anything about the personality disorder, they automatically think about other people. If you start evaluating yourself immediately before you start thinking of other people and evaluating other people, then you more than likely do not have it. But typically, somebody who has narcissistic personality disorder would have an elevated opinion of themselves. They would think highly of themselves. They may tend to turn every conversation back to them. So when I tell you, hey, I went for a walk yesterday, instead of saying, that's awesome, how far did you go? They would automatically come back with
I ran a marathon.
Yeah.
And swing their hair.
Exactly. They may have a sense of pride or a large ego about themselves or the things that they have. They will typically place their needs before others and others' needs. They typically require admiration.
Okay.
They want others to admire them. And a lot of times they will lie and tell stories for others to admire them, to make themselves look better.
They embellish a
Right.
little bit.
Right. And to make themselves look better. Or they will put down other people to make themselves look better. Somebody with narcissistic personality disorder may lash out unexpectedly to other people. You may find that you walk on eggshells around them. You may find that you're constantly trying to choose your words carefully. And when you speak, you're not sure how they're going to take it. And if they don't like what you say, then they will completely yell at you and lash out at you. They typically blame others for things that have happened or things that they've done. Okay. They are typically very envious of others and jealous. They want things that other people have or want to be who other people are. And a lot of times they will put the other person down, even if they are, jealous of what they have and want what they have, they'll put it down
Right.
to make it not look so great, when in fact, inside they want something that somebody else has. They will typically talk down to other people who they don't believe are on their same level. Like if you go to a restaurant and you're being served, they might typically talk down to the waiter, maybe treat them with disrespect. I have like a bunch more here of things that I had written down. They typically triangulate, like they'll talk to you about me.
Okay.
They will talk to me about you.
Oh, okay.
And then they will talk to person C about you and me.
Right.
So-
Okay. Yeah.
So they triangulate and then they get things stirred up.
So it's a gossip.
And
What's that?
then when you and
Dissension?
I get upset with each other, they'll tend to back off and say, what did I do? I didn't do anything.
They're like bait or
Right.
dissension. Those words. come
Right.
to me.
A lot of times they'll exaggerate situations or exaggerate events or things that they've done.
Very drama oriented, kind of.
They're drama oriented, love drama, and are actually drawn to it. They will actually freeze others out when they don't get what they want. They like to judge others and control what other people do.
You're making me suffocate. Like the thought of being around a person that does this.
So I think the healthy thing to do is for us to look at this and go, are there any traits here that I could actually own myself? And that's actually a healthy point of view. That's a healthy way to look at it. And if we question ourselves continually, if we are actually doing any of these things. And there's another one here. It talks about taking great pride in their appearance. Now, there's a lot of people,
Right.
and including us, like we want to take pride in our
Right.
appearance.
Not
We want
today.
to look nice. We want to look presentable. But when it becomes excessive, like we're constantly looking in the mirror, we're constantly making sure that everything is perfect, and we're putting that above having a relationship with someone else, then there could be a problem. So the reason that we brought up Gilmore Girls
Right.
is because Emily is basically
Yeah.
narcissistic, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I have this emotional roller coaster with her when I watch the show. Sometimes I like her, and sometimes I can't take it.
I know. There are times where I just want to just
Slap her?
smack her. Yes, I do want to.
I mouthed
Yes.
another word over there too.
Yes, you
Didn't
did.
you?
Yes, you did. Be careful. We'll have to change the rating on this podcast. Yeah. So if you're at all curious of what narcissistic personality disorder may be, watch Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
And watch Emily. And of course, her personality and her role in that show is very exaggerated.
Okay.
I mean, it's drama.
Make the point. Yeah.
TV, right? So it can be even more subtle than what she does or portrays.
It's interesting. Sometimes I do want to slap Lorelai, though. I do. I just want to also slap her.
I know. I think
sure
where
she-
is
yeah.
her boundaries? She needs to learn the word
Yeah.
no.
No.
And that is one thing that narcissistic people don't like to hear. They do not like to hear the word no. And one way to stop them is to say no.
And you don't have to say anything else after
You
that.
do
No,
not
period.
owe anybody an explanation. That is a boundary that you have set for yourself, and you don't owe an explanation for your boundary. Yeah, so one good way to deal with a person who has narcissistic personality disorder is to learn boundaries.
Oh,
Be able to say no. One of the books that I've heard Dave Ramsey talk about and recommend. I've read it. You've read it, I think. It's called Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud. It's a great book that I think anybody and everybody needs to read, no matter if you know a narcissistic person or not. I mean, it has nothing to do with that, but it's basically, it's just a really great book. I want my kids to even read it because we need to understand as a society that it's okay to say no. I feel like we are taught that we can't say no.
Right.
We can't say no to other people. You know, we're taught as kids, we're taught to share our toys. And that when my children were little, that always bothered me. And I thought, why do I have to teach my kids to share? Because if I am teaching them no, what you have, you need to give it to somebody else. You need to share what you have with somebody else. Don't tell that other person no. You know, but toddlers naturally have that boundary of no, mine.
Right.
And I feel like we need to respect that.
Right.
And so when my children were little, I did not enforce them to share. And so they have learned boundaries, and even with each other, and they know, and they've learned to respect other people's boundaries. And they have learned that they respect other people's stuff and that they have their own stuff that they can have without having to share everything. And I feel like if we teach our kids to share everything they have at a toddler age, when they get older, they're going to be sharing everything they have. They're not going to know the word no. So they're going to think they have to say yes to everybody who makes a request to want something that they have.
Right. And then they don't realize about themselves where their, like you said, where their boundaries are, what they like or dislike. And I remember having this very conversation with you years ago, and that made me think, when Kale and Rylan were smaller, I was like, you know what? He doesn't have to share. And I was like, yes, I want him to form his own opinions. I want him to form his own wants to share if he wants to, out of a compassion or an empathy sharing, not just I have to share, because, sometimes you just call it like it is. If you own your feeling, if you don't want to share, it's okay. And don't guilt them into sharing. Good Lord, don't guilt them into sharing.
Right. And I know that we as parents, we have to understand and be okay with the word no from our children. And I have heard parents before, say, don't you tell me no. You can't tell me no. You do what I tell you to do. Right. You don't ask questions of why or whatever. And so that's a boundary. That parent is breaking in that child, teaching them that they can't say no. So when they get older and someone else makes a request from them, they can't say no. A boss, maybe even, somebody of the opposite sex who wants something that they're not willing to give.
Right.
And they shouldn't be giving away, but they feel like they have to say yes because they've been taught that they cannot say no to somebody in authority.
What is it that we always talk about? What you say, you saying yes to something, you say no to something else. And right now I need to say yes to me and no to everybody else. Not because I'm selfish, not because I'm narcissistic, but I'm just in a season where I need to find who I am.
We do need to learn how to say no. That is one word that we have been taught that we can't say and that we don't know how to say it anymore. Right. I mean, it's the most important word in I don't want to even say English language. It's the most important word in the universal language. I mean, no is very important. So did you watch the Gilmore Girls that actually came out the day after Thanksgiving 2016? Did you watch that?
I
did. 3 episodes?
I couldn't wait. So, but I really liked it. I really felt bad for
Rory,
yeah. Because she was a super awesome kid. And then she totally...
You know what?
Tanked as an adult.
I did not like it.
You didn't like it?
I didn't like it. I thought that it was too musical.
Oh, I'll tell you what I liked.
I didn't like the musical stuff about it. I also, like the way that it ended, really made me mad.
I know.
I was mad because I was like, okay, so here we are. We have Lorelai and Luke who are finally together.
Yes.
We went through 7 seasons. 7, 8, 9, 10 seasons of whatever. Them not being together. They're finally together. They're finally getting married. And here is the, just what we've been waiting for this entire time, right? We have the wedding day, and then all of a sudden Rory has to drop the bomb. And it's like, for real, could you not wait until after the honeymoon? Like, you had to do this on the wedding day. Like, you are stealing the limelight here.
Right.
Like, this is all about Lorelai, and you're making this all about you. This is not about you. This is about Lorelai and Luke. And she totally had to steal it. Like, that wasn't something that she could have announced 2-3 weeks later.
You're very passionate about this TV show ending.
I am.
But I'll let you finish.
But I was mad. I was could you not wait?
But don't you think that's appropriate, though? In hindsight of how it starts, we have Emily, the narcissist. We have Lorelai, she's trying to get it together, doesn't really have boundaries. And then we have Rory coming back and stealing the show with a narcissistic kind of tendency just at that one spot. I don't know. I'm reaching. Don't you think she's stealing the limelight?
I don't know. Maybe so. But I do have to say that I totally saw it coming, though, because the way that she was completely out of control and so promiscuous throughout the entire season, it was just not. Yeah.
I was just like, she was such a good, goody kid. And I think that's what I liked about her, because I was like, I can relate to her. But yeah, to do that as an adult, I mean, I get it. But what I liked about it was all the people that they brought, not all the people, but I loved the connections between Parenthood that they dropped in throughout the seasons. I loved that. Yeah? Like, her daughter in Parenthood was the one that gave them the tickets, or was something standing in line, the episode they stand in line. So then there's, Adam on Parenthood is one of when she goes hiking, and the guy that's supposed to check
Yeah.
So both the boyfriend and Adam, the brother in Parenthood, are those, like, one day it's the boyfriend, her old ex-boyfriend from the Parenthood show, and then the next day it's Adam, the brother on her show, which is also her boyfriend in real life. So I mean, it was kind of neat. I liked those sprinkles. That's what I like.
Cool.
And I loved Parenthood. I loved Parenthood. I am telling you that Parenthood brought a lot of healing. Like, I would watch those episodes and something would dislodge in my heart. I'd feel it. And the Lord would bring something back through their childhood or present, just something. But God brought a lot of healing during that show. So we talked in the beginning about my dishwasher. Thank you for listening to that. And then we talked about Gilmore Girls and narcissism.
Going back to this, I think that we need to not confuse confidence with narcissism, because there's a difference there. There is a true godly confidence that we should have in Christ. We should be confident in Christ. We should be confident in who we are, know what we like, know what we don't like, know when to say no, know how to set boundaries. And just because we may do those things doesn't mean that we are narcissistic ourselves. There's a lot of other traits that would go along that would point in that direction. But being a confident, boundary-setting woman, person, does not mean that you are narcissistic. It means that you are healthy. Cool. Well, this was pretty enlightening today. I hope that we didn't depress too many people talking about that. I just felt like we needed to kind of mention it, because I've been watching the show. It's kind of fresh on my brain, and I just feel like it's something that we all deal with in society. And
absolutely,
I think that we need to learn how to guard against that, and how to guard ourselves against that.
That's it for today. Tune in next time as we continue to dive into life.
In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. You can find us at toflifepodcast.com or follow us on Instagram at toflifepodcast.
Until next time, in the words of Monty Python,
Make tea, not war.